In 2024, Malaysia's economy ended the year with one of the best economic growth amongst many countries in the Asian region. For 2024, the Malaysian economy grew at a rate of 5.1%, which was a stunning figure that made it grow much faster than Indonesia, which should grow more since it has much more potential to grow its economy. It outgrew Thailand by many margins and outperformed many of the East Asian economies. In fact, for 2024, it grew more than China, which had a full-year GDP growth of 5%.
Assalamualaikum, Elsa di sini. Hai guys, hai semua, halo tetangga. Gimana kabar teman-teman semua? Semoga sehat selalu, semoga bahagia selalu, dan semoga hari teman-teman semua selalu good day. Selamat datang di channel YouTube Elsa Widianti Putri. Oke guys, hari ini ada sebuah video yang semoga bisa memberikan informasi bagi teman-teman semua yang belum tahu. Tahun 2024 banyak banget prestasi-prestasi yang udah Malaysia raih, termasuk juga dalam konsep atau termasuk juga pada bagian mata uang. Di tahun 2024 itu Ringgit Malaysia menjadi mata uang yang terbaik di Asia. Wow, luar biasa banget. Malah kita sama-sama ketahui dari channel Behind Asia. Langsung aja di subscribe. Tapi sebelum dimulai video reaksinya, seperti biasa aku mau ngajakin teman-teman semua dulu untuk subscribe channel ini dan aktifkan lonceng notifikasinya supaya tidak ketinggalan updatean terbaru dari channel ini. Dan bagi teman-teman yang mau request, bisa banget DM di Instagram aku di @elsa_widianti_putri. Biar tanpa berlama-lama, tanpa membuang masa, jumlah kita mulai video reaksinya. Are you ready? Let's go.
Throughout 2024, many Asian economies have suffered significant declines in their overall currency performances. If we were to graph out the performances of many major Asian economies, we get to see that the worst performers are South Korea's won, the Japanese yen, and the Taiwan dollar. The Korean won has even seen a major decline against the US dollar, declining by over 12.42%. Within Southeast Asia, however, many economies, as you can see, had declines as well. Even the Singaporean dollar, which is often renowned for its stability, has faced a downward trend, albeit less severe than its East Asian counterparts. The only major Asian currency that saw an appreciation, although slight, is the Hong Kong dollar, which appreciated by 0.58%, probably because of its peg to the US dollar. But what we haven't seen yet in this graph is the topic for today's video, which is Malaysia. If we were to update this graph and include the Malaysian ringgit, we actually get to see that amongst many major Asian currencies, the Malaysian ringgit actually performed really well. For 2024, their currency, amidst all the declines in the region, had appreciated by over 2.73%. It's not a significant increase, but when you compare it to the rest of the region, which saw declines after declines, it is indeed a significant feat. And if we were to graph out the performance of the ringgit for 2024, we get to see that it even appreciated strongly against the US dollar around September of the year, but devalued by the end of it. Comparatively to the Korean won, which saw the worst performance, you can see that it was the exact opposite of the Malaysian ringgit. It did not appreciate, but rather saw significant devaluations. Hence, it brought some observers to wonder how this happened. How did Malaysia, an economy that is still far below that of South Korea and many of the East Asian tigers, to have a currency that performed so well amidst the entire region seeing weak performances? So, how did Malaysia's ringgit become the best performer? Well, there are several reasons for the outstanding performance of the ringgit, and let's find all of those reasons one by one. Many articles out there have laid out the reasons for the ringgit's performance, and one of them stands true amongst all of it, and that is the economic performance of Malaysia. In 2024, Malaysia's economy ended the year with one of the best economic growth amongst many countries in the Asian region. For 2024, the Malaysian economy grew at a rate of 5.1%, which was a stunning figure that made it grow much faster than Indonesia, which should grow more since it has much more potential to grow its economy. It outgrew Thailand by many margins and outperformed many of the East Asian economies. In fact, for 2024, it grew more than China, which had a full-year GDP growth of 5%. Why economic growth matters for one's currency is largely because stronger economic growth attracts more foreign investment, boosts consumer confidence, and increases demand for the local currency. A growing economy signals stability and profitability, encouraging both local and international investors to place their money in Malaysian assets. This demand helps
investor
support
datang
the
ke
ringgit's
Malaysia kan.
value, preventing it from depreciating as sharply as other Asian currencies. Put simply, the Malaysian economy had performed very well amidst the challenging economic environment that was seen for the year 2024. Secondly, there is also the fact that Malaysia had recorded a historic high of over 378.5 billion Malaysian ringgit,
Wow.
or about approximately
Billion
85.8
ringgit.
billion US dollars in approved investments. This was a
Investasi.
significant increase from the previous year of just
Gila sih, meningkat
329.5
tajam
billion
banget ya
ringgit.
tahun 2024
If we were
investasi
to
di
dissect
Malaysia.
this data further, we can see in the graphs that a lot of these approved investments was driven by domestic investments, accounting for 55% or 208.1 billion ringgit of the share, whilst foreign investments only at 170.4 billion ringgit, or a 45% share. Likewise, the largest foreign investors for 2024 was from the United States, followed by Germany and then China. Now, the reason why this matters for the ringgit's value is because of what we mentioned earlier, the fact that 2024 was a very challenging economic environment for many countries. For instance, in the United States, their very interest rate, which was set by the Federal Reserve, was significantly high, and indeed had stayed high for the entire year of 2024. Yet, as you can see in the data, the US had registered the highest investments into Malaysia. What that basically means is that despite the high interest rates in the US, American companies and investors still found Malaysia an attractive destination for their capital. This is a strong indicator of confidence in Malaysia's economic environment, stability, and growth potential. Secondly, China, which also saw significant slowdowns in its economy and some troubles seen for its various industries, also led significant amounts of investments into Malaysia. That is again a reflection of the fact that, despite having a slowing economy and challenges domestically, Chinese companies still found Malaysia to be an attractive investment destination and poured billions of money into the Southeast Asian economy. There are a lot of arguments as to why Malaysia's economy performed very well for 2024. But that's not what we want to talk about in today's video, so we'll leave it for now. The third reason that we want to discuss as to why Malaysia's ringgit performed well is also because of the narrowing interest rate differentials. There is an observable narrowing of the interest rate differential between the United States and Malaysia. In early 2024, while Bank Negara Malaysia, which is known as Malaysia's central bank, had maintained its key policy rate at 3.00%, the US Federal Reserve was still in a relatively high-rate environment, with rates hovering around 4.75%. You can see that in this overlapping data from the two central banks, they have indeed high interest rates in the early months of 2024. But if we were to adjust this data and include later months of the year 2024, we get to see that the Federal Reserve has adjusted its interest rate and it has come down. The Bank Negara Malaysia, on the other hand, didn't actually reduce their interest rates. The reason being is because of Malaysia's need to maintain economic stability and control inflation. Unlike the US Federal Reserve, which had room to adjust rates downward as inflation showed signs of cooling, Bank Negara Malaysia kept its rates steady to ensure price stability and sustain investor confidence. This difference in how these two central banks played was crucial as it helped increase the investment's inflows into Malaysia. That is because, as the yield advantage of holding US assets diminished, global investors began to look more favorably, and one of them is Malaysia. Fourthly, a major reason for the ringgit's value can also be traced to actions made by the Bank Negara Malaysia. The BNM has actively encouraged businesses to repatriate their export earnings in ringgit and incentivized investors to convert their foreign income into local currency. What this basically means is that BNM has taken strategic steps to increase demand for the ringgit by ensuring that a larger portion of foreign currency earnings is converted into local currency. Fifth, probably the biggest reason for the increase of Malaysia's ringgit value is also because Malaysia was removed from the US currency manipulation watch list, which basically meant that international confidence in Malaysia's economic policies and financial management improved significantly. The removal from the US Treasury's currency manipulation watch list signaled that Malaysia was no longer under scrutiny for artificially influencing its exchange rate. This boosted investor sentiment, leading to increased foreign investment and capital inflows, which strengthened the ringgit. Finally, one can also attribute the ringgit's value to Malaysia's export performance. If we were to graph out the growth rates of Malaysia's export performance on a year-on-year growth rate change for 2024, we get to see that for the entire year of 2024, they mostly saw significant growths in their exports. Here, as you can see in the graph, the exports of Malaysia didn't just grow by a small amount in those months. There were months where it grew as much as 12.3% to 16.9%. This is no small figure, as it helped improve the expectations that the current account balance will improve more significantly than that of many regional peers. This is partly because of the strong technological investments made by American firms as of late, which sought to establish Malaysia as one of the next semiconductor manufacturing hubs. So, as you can see, the economic growth rate of Malaysia for 2024 is because of many factors. Some can be attributed to the government of Malaysia, led by Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who helped ensure stable economic growth rate. Others can attribute it to the Bank Negara Malaysia, which didn't change interest rates as compared to the Federal Reserves. Others may also attribute it to the significant foreign investments from the West and China. But either way, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.
Jadi kalau politiknya bagus, pasti negaranya juga ikut bagus, nggak sih? Kayak mulai dari mata uangnya, kecanggihan teknologi, mulai dari pendidikan juga gitu. Jadi ibaratnya politik itu juga memegang peranan penting dalam kesuksesan sebuah negara, dalam seberapa kuatnya juga nilai mata uang. Pada tahun 2024 kemarin, ringgit menjadi mata uang yang berkinerja terbaik lah, aku bisa bilang pada tahun 2024 kemarin guys. Dimana tadi kita bisa melihat sama-sama beberapa statistiknya meningkat tajam banget mata uang Malaysia dari tahun ke tahun. Di samping itu juga banyak banget orang yang percaya sama Malaysia, menginvestasikan uangnya ke Malaysia, berbilion-bilion ringgit Malaysia bahkan, yaitu salah satu faktor juga yang mengakibatkan mata uang Malaysia itu salah satu yang terbaik juga pada tahun kemarin guys, 2024. Congratulations sekali lagi untuk Malaysia, dan terima kasih untuk admin Behind Asia yang udah sharing kepada kita semua, yang udah memberikan informasi juga kepada kami semua. Dan untuk video kali ini cukup sekian. Bagi teman-teman yang suka sama video ini, jangan lupa untuk like, komen, dan subscribe, dan kita ketemu di next video. Bye bye, assalamualaikum.